This video is sponsored by none other than Lead Heroes, you guys. Lead Heroes has got you covered when it comes to telemarketed leads and virtual staffing. On the lead side, whether it be Medicare supplement leads, final expense leads, turning 65 leads, they just got something for everybody. They can also actually have you plug in with one of their virtual staff members on the staffing side to where you can pay by the hour for one of their trained and very well vetted staff members to help you out in your business in a virtual assistant format. Just because you watch this video, they're going to give you 10% off any order you make on their website. Link to the site can be found down in the description, so go ahead and check them out. Hey, what's up, guys? Christian Brindle here, and I am back with another interview. Somebody who is no stranger to our channel, to our audience. The one and only Mr. Tony Merwin, all the way from Austin, Texas. And we got a lot to talk about. Tony, what's up?
Everything, buddy. You've seen new office, new space, new logistics, right? So a lot of things have changed in the last 3 months for me, but Avila's got a great foundation, and I've got some great partners down here in Texas. So it was time to move into a new brick and mortar and get it opened up. And we're here. We just had our soft launch last weekend, and we have our grand opening next Friday, the official ribbon cutting grand opening.
That is super exciting. I remember I was told through the grapevine, maybe like midway through December, that's like, hey, Tony's going to be going full time, doing his own thing. He's going to be walking away from PSM. And I'm like, what? I'm like, no way. I shoot you a message and you're like, it's not being announced for a week or two, but yes, it's happening. And I just remember, feeling so excited for you, and I remember, I want to say it was the COVID year that Grace got licensed and you started Avila, right?
That is correct. She got licensed May of 2020.
I remember that really vividly because that's when the shutdown was happening. We were doing a lot of these Zoom cocktail parties, and that was kind of the way we were keeping each other sane, if you will, because none of us could really leave the house much. And I just remember at the time, the excitement that you had and she had as well, for the business was at an all-time high. And it's just, the excitement is just seen over the years, just kind of seen it develop and grow and kind of materialize into what you envisioned it being probably from the beginning, is just really cool. It's just really, really exciting. And so talk a little bit about the office. What does the setup look like? I know you are sharing the office with Redwood, right?
Correct. So when I was getting to the point where I knew I wanted to move Grace out and get her an office, right? And especially when we really made the decision that I was going to go ahead and leave PSM and go all in with Avila with her and support her, we knew we wanted to do an office. Our ultimate goal was we wanted to do kind of a hybrid brick and mortar, right? We're not really set up as a retail brick and mortar agency. We're a telesales shop all day long, right? We do events, we go out, and then we sell by phone. But we wanted to really improve our local space, right? Our local branding, right? Our local market presence. And we knew a brick and mortar would take us there, or at least would be a step in that direction. So we needed an office, and then hanging out with my buddy Joe and Dave Camper of Redwood Agency Group. They're on the property and casualty side. They don't do anything in Medicare, nothing in life and health, really. So there's no interference. So as I developed a relationship with them more and more, I found out that they were outgrowing their office and they were starting to look for new space. So I just threw out the idea. I was like, hey, how about we co-op an office together? We can get a little more space, right? And have a little nicer office. We just got to find the office that's right for us. So we all thought about it pretty hard. And we're like, well, we're all good people. We work good together. We kind of feel like family at this point because we've gotten to know each other over the years. So we want an office that's big enough that we can not step over each other. It's got some community space to it, but then it's got some separation between Redwood and Avila so that we're not right in each other's face, so to speak, right? And there's plenty of room. And we found a perfect location. So there, half of the building is basically Redwood, half of the building is Avila. There's obviously the community areas with the lobby. And then with what Joe and I have been doing in the insurance syndicate, we knew we needed space or a dedicated room where we could take our podcast, and instead of us being in two separate spaces, we can now eventually get it into one room. And we knew that would edify and elevate the podcast. We haven't gotten to that space yet. We have the room for it. Now we just got to build it out. So when you're seeing us doing our shows on the syndicate now, And I'm in my office over here. He's about 100 feet behind me in his office over there. But pretty soon we'll be in the same frame in one room. So we're looking forward to that day. And that'll even give us the chance to bring guests in, right? And again, have us all in the same room together.
I love it. I love it. And what's the square footage look like of the office? I saw some videos of it on Facebook, and it looked pretty big. Looked pretty good size.
Large. It's 2925, 2,925 square feet. So it's a pretty good size.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So one thing I wanted to kind of pick your brain on, right? How many years were you with PSM?
12 and a half.
Wow. I can only imagine some of the experiences that you walked away from being in that office and in the role that you were in for so long. Some of the conversations that you were probably in on a routine basis, you're right. And just being so close to things happening at the top, right? That a lot of agents and agency owners probably just are not privy to. If there was some things that you think you walked away from that experience, because I think one thing people don't realize sometimes is like, if someone's going to work for an FMO, right? Or if someone's going to work for a carrier, maybe they're going to be a carrier rep, something along those lines. Of course, I think working for the FMO would be a sweeter gig. That's the one I would pick. But, but those experiences, I think, can kind of get somebody in a position to where like their knowledge is going to be intense, right? And they're going to be able to take that out and use it to their disposal when they go off on their own. What are some things you learned from working with PSM for that long that is helping you build your agency now?
One of the biggest things was understanding the nature of contract hierarchy at the very top level down. Like, right, a lot of agents don't quite understand how the whole NMO wholesaler piece fits in. And then you have your smaller FMO groups and your agencies and how it kind of trickles all the way down. It's basically just same as any product distribution chain, supply chain. It's really all it is. It's just structured a little differently. But just being able to really see that how those contract relationships work. Also, the opportunity to see how product development works, right? Because our relationship with AmeriLife, we were tied in with some of the product development details on some of their proprietary Medicare supplements or final expense products or even hospital indemnity products that they would put out. So being able to see behind those curtains and even participate in some of that stuff. As a matter of fact, I can't say much about it, but there is a product coming out here very soon from AmeriLife that I had a lot of input on. And they actually put in some very similar detail or very unique details of that product built in specifically from my recommendations of things I've learned looking at products behind the scenes for over the last several years. So I can't wait to see that hit the shelf. And I tried to make a couple of jokes. I'm like, so every time, this product gets sold, I assume I'm getting a little piece of that pie, right? They kind of chuckled. But yeah, so those are some unique things, right? Understanding the higher level nature of contracts, seeing how product development works, how those relationships are happening, where a product development team goes to a carrier, is like, hey, you got great paper, let us develop a product on it. Here's what we're going to do. Understanding that stuff. I would say those are probably two of the biggest details. And then the outside of that, it was just things that I picked up from successful agents, right? That we're doing really well. Things I've learned from you, things I've learned from Justin Brock, things I've learned from numerous agents that I've worked with over the years on what they were doing in their territories, right? And for their space that helped them succeed. So those are all nuggets that I took and I would use them to help other agents that I developed and worked with, and certainly using them now in my own new agency. Because from when I was in the field back in 06, 7, 8, and 9, it's a wholly different world now.
Yeah.
Right. So there was a period of 12, 13 years where I wasn't producing in the field on a regular basis. I was still writing business, mostly just referrals from people that I knew in the business, but I wasn't out there actively marketing and building an agency or building a business pipeline anymore. I had done that and I kind of moved into wholesale. So it changed a lot over those years. And while I was able to see the changes at a very top level and a product development level, at the field level, I was still a little removed. So working with agents helped feed that information to me. So I was always feverishly listening to successful agents, learning from them. What are they doing that's different now versus what it was like before? And then how can I use that to help agents? And certainly, again, how can I use it to help grow Avila? Because I'll be honest, I had no desire to go out and build an agency again. I really enjoyed what I did with PSM. I was successful at it. I was making a great living and a great income. And then everything changed when Grace was like, "Hey, I want to get into insurance." And I was like, "Are you sure?" And then I wasn't really sure how serious she was. It's like, okay, this is probably just going to be a little side gig. She'll write a few apps here and there, keep herself busy. But no, she sunk her teeth into it and has built a business that I was like, okay, if this is going to grow further, if it's going to grow and fill her vision, I have to come in full time now. Like it's at a point where if it's going to continue and not just be her writing business, and if she wants to build the business that she envisions, it's truthfully her vision, not so much mine, that's going to affect change for her family back in Colombia, which she's already successfully doing because 2 of them work for her now as VAs. If we're going to continue to grow it in that direction, she needs another person on board. And I felt like I'm only going to get one shot at this. And if I don't do it now, I'm going to regret it later in life that I didn't take the opportunity to help my wife build this further. Right. And I didn't want to lose that opportunity. Right. I love her. Yeah. She's my heart and soul. I want to see her succeed. So I'm like, you know what? I need to come in and support her. I'm selfish if I don't. It was kind of the last piece that I got to her. I'm like, all right, now's the time. And of course, her building up a great renewal base, right, and creating a secondary support income for us, even though I'm leaving with some money from PSM, still made it, very viable as well. Made it an easy decision.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really powerful. And I feel like you're always somebody that has been so keen on relationships in the business. As long as I've known you, you were really one of the first people that had an integral role with an FMO that was really involved in the forums, the Facebook groups, coming out to events, attending as many events as you could, having that FaceTime and, that relationship and that connection with a lot of agents across the country, myself, other people. Do you feel like, that was something as well that really put you in a position, right, to where you could rub shoulders with people across the country that were like top of the industry, people that were doing some of the best, in their particular fields, or maybe it's somebody that's doing a certain marketing hack or something, and they're killing it. That probably was instrumental, right? And kind of helping you being able to put the pieces together to get the agency to where it was to the point now to where you could walk away from PSM.
Certainly. There was a lot of that knowledge I was already getting, but I was only getting it in a certain bubble.
Yeah.
Right. I was only getting it in the PSM and AmeriLife environment for the most part. Right. Because I was able to interface with those executives and those top producers that were involved in that bubble. So I was getting that knowledge there, but I wasn't getting it from other people outside of that until I really opened myself up and got out there on Facebook and started attending events and getting to know folks. I mean, there were other people in the industry I knew, right, and that were competitors of mine, but we weren't as close as we are now. We weren't as transparent with each other as we are now, that we've developed relationships and friendships where they're helping me and giving information to me, and I'm learning, I'm watching them, I'm listening to them, seeing what they're saying, seeing how they interact. So absolutely. So it was a huge jump from the day that I got out of that bubble, because I stayed behind that bubble for, I would say, 8 to 9 years of my career with PSM. I just stayed in my cubicle, got on the phone, built relationships through the phone only, and that was it. And I did great. I built a great distribution through there. I'm not going to tarnish that at all. But then the day that Joe Tritola, a friend of ours that we both know, convinced me, he's like, dude, there's these new Facebook groups that are popping up in the insurance business, right, that are all professional agents hanging out in these groups. He's like, we need a voice like yours, because he knew I had the knowledge. He's like, we need a voice like yours in there. He's like, and it would benefit you as well. He's like, so you got to come check it out. And that he invited me to the first one, which was Medicare Coach at the time, that eventually became Medicare Gurus and then became Medicare Monsters. Shortly after that, I got introduced to Medicare Mentors when him and Joanna started that, and then found your group. And I understood it. I understood it right away. I know that agents aren't in those groups to get recruited, right? So even though I was a quote unquote recruiter distributor with PSM, I knew like that's not going to be the right angle, right? My job in this group is just to provide value. And if somebody sees me and they want to work with me or they want to build a relationship, I'll let them come to me. And Justin realized that I had that intention as well. So he allowed me in his groups. You realize I had that same intention. Joe and Joanna understood that I had that same intention, that I'm not here trying to backstab, thieve, or just recruit agents blatantly. Like, I'm here just to add value and build relationships. And if people want to work with me, they'll choose to work with me. Either way, I'm still going to build my distribution regardless. But it opened up a ton for me, right? And I saw in those 3 years, I saw my distribution and my business pretty much triple over. Like it jumped excessively in a very short period of time.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there's 3 types of people that I observe. There's the first one that's probably the most common. That would be like in your similar role with an FMO. They don't get it. They think it's a waste of their time to be involved in those communities and to kind of put themselves out there in that same capacity and be a resource. That's the first one. The second one is they understand the value proposition for them, but they understand it wrongly, not like you were describing. They abuse it a little bit. They slide in people's DMs, they get themselves kicked out. And then there's, I think, the third one, which is the one that you fell into, which was, I'm going to bring value. I understand the etiquette of these groups, and I understand kind of what's going to help me in the bottom line. And I think there's very few that fall into category 3. I think probably 90% fall into category 1 and 2, if I had to guess.
100% agree with you. I see other marketers and recruiters get into those groups, and as soon as they're in there, next thing you know, they're bounced because they're into people's DMs, just like you said, or they're just blatantly throwing recruiting posts right at the top of the group, and they're like, whoa, what's going on? Or, this is not what it's about. But what they have to understand is those groups are designed. If you're in the position like I was in, or other FMOs, marketers, recruiters, whatever, you have the opportunity to gain attention.
Yeah.
But you need the right attention. Getting the attention is the guy that's just blatantly recruiting and not trying to provide value, that is just there almost as a parasite, basically, right? That's the wrong attention. So how do you get the right attention? You get the right attention by showing off that you know what the hell you're talking about, and provide value to people and help them solve some of their problems, right? So granted, there is a fine line of losing your time while you're in some of those groups and not getting lost, just sitting there responding to posts and threads to show off your knowledge and skill set. So you have to kind of balance it. So I always I'd block out basically some time every day, a couple times a day, 30 minutes here and 30 minutes there, where I'd go spend some time in the right Facebook groups, look for posts where I could come in and provide some value and give some feedback, right, and some counterpoints. And then it wasn't long where agents are DMing me now.
Yeah.
Right. And they're like, hey, I see you in the Medicare group over there. It really seems like you know what you're talking about. I looked you up, right, vetted you. I'd love to chat with you because I think there might be some opportunities that you can help me and I can work with you. Right. And I saw my distribution and my agent force grow just through that. I wasn't very good at doing that on LinkedIn. I tried it on LinkedIn and I wasn't getting the type of response I could get on LinkedIn. But on Facebook, it worked like a charm. I just went out there and gained attention at a very fast clip, and then brought it out. And I learned a trick, and this is a hack, and I'm sure it still works, although I'm not as active doing it because I don't have the time, nor do I need to. But I thought about what's the information that agents need on a regular basis. They need product knowledge they can get pretty quick, but what is information on products I can provide, and what is information on industry changes, news, current events that I can provide? And as you remember, there was a period of time for probably about 2 years where I just became a Medicare industry news aggregator.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was always and so that got me a ton of attention right there, because it was always articles and stuff that people were interested in learning about. And so I just aggregated news on my page on a regular basis. I know it tuned out some of my audience, but I gained a ton of attention from agents and a ton of followers. So I watched my Facebook followers blow up pretty quick, and also my LinkedIn followers as well blow up. And just that simple hack. Like at the time, I didn't have my own content. So I'm just going onto Google and DuckDuckGo and Bing and finding relevant articles about the Medicare space or the insurance space that I knew someone would want to know about, and then just post it, right? I would read it. I would find what's valuable in there. I would excerpt that piece of value, stick it on my page, post a link, and be like, yo, y'all look at this. I know y'all want to know about it. And then I became known pretty quick. Not only because people were seeing my name over and over and over, like, who's this Tony Merwin dude? Like, he's always in my feed. He's always in my feed. And they're like, I see you everywhere. Well, yes, it's pretty easy to do it that way. So I kind of hacked the system that way. And then later we started developing content specific to PSM and myself that I started putting out there on top of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember all of that like it was yesterday, so, and I think it's interesting. Like if anybody watches this and you're a recruiter, you work for an FMO, anything like that. I mean, I think it's really the blueprint. Like if you want to not use, that's not the right word, but like, participate and gain value yourself and help grow your business through people seeking you out from the Facebook groups and from the online communities. I think that's the best way to do it. You give and get in return.
Yes,
and
100%. You give and get that, especially in that relationship. I can't come into that relationship or any of those relationships asking for value, right? Hey, give me your contracts. I'd love to work with you. Like, who the hell are you? Right? Go out there and just give value, and the valuable people will come back to you. The value will come back. It's not a foreign concept. It's been done many times in many different ways. This is just another way to do it. It's the same reason dentists send you a free toothbrush, right? Or an invite for a free cleaning, right? It's Russell Brunson talks about the value ladder. Get them in for free with some free value. Give value, and then you slowly get them into your value ladder. So same concept. I'm like, how can I provide value in some way, and how can I do it quickly? I'm like, well, one of the quickest ways was let me go get all this information that's already out there, aggregate it, deliver it to agents, and then I can follow up on that later. And so I just basically bought a bunch of attention is pretty much what I did.
Yeah. Let's talk about the industry right now, right? As we're kind of soaring through Q1 2023, what do you think is the biggest thing that agents should know about right now? Should they be thinking about compliance changes that could be on the horizon? Should they be thinking about marketing trends that are working right now that might be different? Should they be thinking about maybe lack of competition? Like that's one that I've been hearing a lot about lately, lack of competition from the standpoint that there might be 2, maybe 3 groups that control a massive amount of the distribution. What should agents be thinking about and focused on right now in 2023?
I would definitely say those first 2 items need to be top of mind, especially marketing. But you can't be so stuck in your current space to not be looking forward, right? And there's a bunch of you out there that have read the book or heard of the book, Who Moved My Cheese? And if you haven't read it, you need to read it, and you need to reread it probably every year. Because one thing that's true, especially in the Medicare industry, it changes every year a little bit. Sometimes it changes a lot. Like we saw some big changes at the end of last year that they dropped on us, right? With the call recording, TPO requirements, things. Those may be unattractive to some agents, but regardless, that's an example of your cheese getting moved somewhere a little bit, right? And in 2024, it looks like it's going to get moved a lot if some of these new proposals get approved. So you can't be so stuck in just your current spot and where your cheese is and just keep going there. Oh man, it's always going to be here. I'm just going to keep going back to this mousetrap every time that I've mastered and keep getting it. While that's good, you have to take some time to look what's about to change, what could change, what are marketing trends that are coming. You got the breakout of AI now that's changing the way people are creating content or creating information, right? Or finding information and getting answers. That's a whole new thing which is related to marketing. There's sites that pop up all the time that are advantageous. Social media changes, ebbs and flows. Direct mail makes changes. The marketing side of things is always shifting. So you always have to look for the trends that are next, but don't just look there. Look at the stuff that CMS is doing and changing within Medicare. Like you have to keep your eye on that foresight and be very in front of it. And I'm not trying to brag, but I will brag. When Florida made the change that you can no longer have the word Medicare in your insurance agency name or your DBA, I immediately saw that. I was like, well, that's going to put a bunch of people in a pickle.
Yes.
Because especially in Florida, because how many agencies are there in Florida that are senior Medicare advisors, right? Medicare consultants or this or that all have the word Medicare in.
A bajillion.
Right. So thankfully they gave him a good amount of time. I think they gave him 18 months to get that done. They gave him a pretty good length. CMS doesn't always do that for us, but Florida was nice enough to let them know, like, hey, you have until this date. And that date, I think, is coming up June 1st, if I remember right. where if you haven't converted your agency name, they're just going to terminate your ass. So when I saw that happen, and then California started doing similar things, right? And they were, not only are they eliminating the word Medicare in your brand name, but they're also requiring you now to have the word insurance in your brand name. When I saw some of those things happening, I started making changes immediately to the structure of Avila, because I was like, okay, at some point, we're not going to be able to be called Avila Medicare Solutions anymore. That name's going to be out.
Yeah.
So I started looking at brand names where I can make those changes. So that's an example of looking ahead to understand where your cheese is getting moved, right? And you don't want to do it to the point that it creates analysis paralysis, but you have to always keep your eye on the future. So in regards to what you were saying is like, what should agents be looking at in the state of Medicare? One, understand where you're at right now is a good space, focus, make money. But at the same time, you should have another eye over there on like, what is some of the stuff that CMS is doing and making changes, and how do I prepare myself, right, to be ahead of the curve? How do I get ahead of the agents? Same with the call recording stuff. As soon as that got announced, I was on it. I was looking. I wasn't waiting for October. I was setting up those systems immediately so that when October came, all I had to do was turn it on. And actually I had it turned on in August just so I could practice, or in September, just so we could practice it, get through the tedious points, find out what's broken, and so we can get it fixed. So when October came, we had it running pretty much perfect.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. And, people think 18 months, 18 months, oh, that's so much time. But I know plenty of groups that it's approaching and they haven't done a thing yet.
Right.
Yeah. So
you're absolutely true. So because nature, right, natural human behavior is to procrastinate and put things off, especially when you're a very busy business owner. You're like, man, I'll deal with that later. It's not a priority right now. Fair enough. You need to make it a priority. You don't have to make it a priority for 8 hours in your day, but you need to set a little bit of time aside to study and figure out what is going on. What are the changes they're making or thinking of making? And what am I going to do if and when they make them?
Yeah.
And I'm pretty confident that when I tell you that Medicare is going to make most of those changes that they propose for 2024, those are probably all going to happen. Maybe the 48-hour rule won't come back. Maybe we can argue that one off, but they're going to eliminate the ability to use the word Medicare, period. They're going to eliminate the ability for you to use the Medicare card in any of your advertising images. They're going to take all that away from you. And if you're not already thinking of how am I going to need to evolve when that day comes and start preparing yourself for it, you're going to be left holding a bag when that day comes. And then you're going to be racing to catch up to all your competition who's already way ahead of you because they've already figured it out. They already have ad mocks made. They've already restructured their brand name. They already have everything ready to go, right? And they're ready for that switch. And same thing, like guys were already doing it with the call recording. The same thing's happening. There's changes coming. They're not going to just all of a sudden lay over on those changes and go, oh yeah, we're overreacting. This is the government we're talking about. They're going to make those changes. So agents definitely need to start getting themselves prepared today.
Yeah. I think that's so true and so spot on. I think,
and if they don't make them, then they don't make them, then no big deal. But at least be prepared. Don't be left holding the bag when it gets there, because there's guys like me, there's guys like you and Justin and some of these other guys that are out there that are smart and proactive that are going to be light years ahead of you, and we're going to be the ones cleaning up the pot, right? We're going to be dragging the pot the whole time while you're still trying to get your chips assembled.
Pretty much. I think it's, last year, I remember when they first announced the call recording regulations, and I was amazed by the ongoing dialogue about, let's sign this petition. Let's do this. Maybe there's hope. Maybe this is going to happen. Maybe it's going to change. I felt like I was one of the only people that was saying, sign your petition. It can't hurt anything, I guess, but you need to be preparing for AEP. You need to be preparing to have these changes implemented tomorrow in your business, and stop holding out hope it's going to go away, because it's not. 100%. I don't care what you sign. It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. Same thing. I did sign the petition that went around. So I'm like, well, I'm good with that. I like hope. No problem. I'm a rebel. I'll sign the petition, but I'm not just going to sign the petition and wait. I hope that comes through. No, I'm like, all right, petition signed. Now, how do I properly record calls? How do I find them? How do I store them when I'm audited? Like, how do I get that process down? Let me start mastering that. And if it doesn't come through, then hey, doesn't come through, but I'm still a smarter dude. But ultimately, it makes sense to record your calls anyway.
Yeah.
If you're a phone salesperson, you should just do it to cover your own butt, whether it's a requirement or not. And it's really not that tedious. Let's be honest. It's not that hard.
No, I think it's dramatically overblown, the complexity of it. I think, even with the new rules that are coming out, are they a hindrance? Sure. Did it make it impossible to do business? No, not at all.
It's going to rub some people out. I think people will quit the Medicare business and they'll just go over the ACA, where it's still the wild, wild west, or they'll flip to life insurance, or maybe they leave insurance altogether. I don't know. But there's definitely some, and I would say it's probably more in the older group of producers. Yeah. Right. They're like, you know what? I've done my time in Medicare. Right. I remember the old days when it was 35% commission and there were no Medicare Advantage plans, and I didn't have to record no calls, no dumb scope of appointment. Like, there is that group of guys that are just gonna be like, you know what, the hell with it. I'll just go over to the ACA, or I'll go over to life insurance, or I'll just go do something else. Right. They're going to wash out because they feel like it's too tedious. But then that makes room, that creates a vacuum for all of us that are willing to do it right. We're willing to do it ethically. We're willing to follow the rules, and we know how to do it and scale that. And we're going to come in and fill that space up. So it is going to create an opportunity where some agents can capitalize, because there is going to be less competition at the field level. Yeah.
I think that's a great point. And, it's also an opportunity for anybody that might have the means. A lot of those people that are exiting the business, maybe they want to sell. Maybe they want to sell the book.
Correct.
So I think anytime there's a perceived negative, there's always opportunity for a select few. So watch for those opportunities. We bought a couple very small books of businesses at the end of last year. People wanting to get out of the business, one of which hadn't recertified, wasn't planning to recertify, had to quickly offload those clients. We swooped in and bought those up. So that's the opportunity I'm looking for. How can I buy out some of these agents that are going to be victims of the herd thinning, if you will?
Correct. Yeah. Anytime there is a massive change in an industry, there's always a groundswell of opportunity for those willing to adapt to the change and take advantage of it. 100% true. It's the natural ebb and flow of the universe, even, right?
Yeah.
What goes up comes down. It's just a natural give and take. That's how it works.
I want to be respectful of your time, and thank you for all the time you spent and all the knowledge you've kind of dropped. It's always top tier and always great information. I want to talk a little bit about the summit. So you're going to be, of course, front and center at the event as the MC once again, as you were last year. Is there anything in particular that you're looking forward to for the event as the MC?
As specifically as the MC is just, well, number one, not letting you down and being a good MC that can push that event and elevate it to the level that you want it. That's really what I'm looking forward to, is delivering what I promised you that I'll deliver. But ultimately, it's seeing a lot of my friends in the industry that I love so much that I know will be there. Right. People like you, people like Rebecca Davis, Maida Luna, and Clarissa Gonzalez, and Eric Fierro, and Josh Lustig, all of these wonderful people that I know are going to be there. Malia Rogers, looking forward to be able to spend time with them. And honestly, one of the reasons I love emceeing this event is not just because I get to get up front and MC it and have my fun, but it's because I get to be in the room and listen to all these people as well. Right. That's my golden ticket, to actually be in the room. I get to give my value, and then I'm taken too. So I'm not just there to MC, I'm there to learn too. So a lot of these guys, they've been in the field longer than me lately, because I'm just now getting back at this whole agency building thing again, which is thankfully going like gangbusters. But I'm excited just to be in the room and be able to hear that and take that knowledge too, and continue to further those relationships.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we're really excited about it. We have some really cool things planned out that maybe we haven't even put out there publicly yet. So there's still a lot of preparation going on our part. But of course, you guys, you can see Tony as the MC, not only at our event, but at Medicare Con coming up pretty soon, which of course I will be there. I've been told I'm doing a breakout session. I think That's what I'm doing. I just go where they tell me to go, and I'll do what they want me to do. So
I'm with you on that.
Tony, where's the best place that people can find you these
Oh,
days?
it's always Facebook. Truthfully, it's still Facebook. I mean, that's the easy, or LinkedIn. I mean, if truthfully, if you search Tony Merwin on Facebook or LinkedIn, you're going to find me pretty quickly. So that's usually the easiest. All my contact info is in there. So usually, if you're looking for me, just go right there. You'll find my contact info. Be able to get a hold of me. So
I love it. Guys, go follow Tony if you're not already on any platform that he's on, LinkedIn, Facebook. Get in the insurance syndicate if you're not already with Tony and Joe. They do a great job, put out a lot of really good information, not only just for Medicare, P&C, but there's a lot of discussion going on about life, all different kinds of insurance products. So it's kind of a very vast kind of, pot of different ideas kind of circulating. So it's a really good group. So go check that out, you guys. And good stuff, Tony. Thank you for your time today. This was great.
Thanks for bringing me on. I always like hanging out with you. So I think this is probably the fourth or fifth that we've done together over the years.
Got to be at least.
And I would probably more than that if you think about all the other podcast shows that I've had you come on as a guest. This is probably 8 or 9, but I love getting to hang out with you. And I certainly, again, look forward to seeing you up in Salt Lake in June. So can't wait. Or actually, I'll see you in Vegas in April 1st and then Salt Lake in June.
Yep. I'll be there. And so will some of my people, front and center, because I guess we're sponsoring too for Medicare Con. So got to figure out who I want to put at the booth, because I'm not going to do it, but
certainly shouldn't be.
All right, guys. If you enjoyed this video, connect with Tony, jump in the Facebook group for the Insurance Syndicate, and you guys know the drill. Like, comment your thoughts below, subscribe, and we'll see you next time with another interview with someone doing big things in our space. And thanks so much for your support. See you guys at the top. Later, guys.